These airplanes are praised as reliable legends that never let you down. But once you actually live with them, reliability starts to feel more like a limitation than a virtue. The Cessna 172 Skyhawk is the perfect example of an airplane that works flawlessly while failing to inspire. It is exactly what it is supposed to do and nothing more. Performance feels limited even with light loads, and long trips slowly turn into exercises in patience rather than enjoyment. The flying experience rarely feels rewarding, especially for pilots who expected growth beyond basic skills. The cabin constantly reminds owners of early training days they would rather leave behind. While the airplane forgives mistakes, it also removes any sense of challenge or progression. Control response feels muted rather than engaging. Speed is never exciting, even by modest standards. Many owners describe flights as functional, not memorable. The airplane becomes something you tolerate rather than look forward to. It is reliable in the most practical sense, but emotional attachment rarely forms. Most keep it because it is already there, not because it excites them. Over time, predictability turns into boredom, and boredom quietly pushes pilots away. The Piper P, a 28 Cherokee, follows a similar path. It is dependable, predictable, and easy to live with, yet emotionally distant from its owners. Climb performance often disappoints, especially on warmer days or with passengers on board. Cruising rarely feels satisfying, even when conditions are perfect. Owners quickly realize the airplane never surprises them, but that also means it never delights them. Control stays neutral and uninspiring. The cockpit environment feels dated and disconnected from modern expectations. Aging interiors remind owners that time has not been kind to the design. Systems work, but they do not impress. Maintenance is manageable, yet never feels rewarding. Ownership feels static, with no sense of progression. It does not break often, but it also does not motivate pilots to fly more than necessary. Reliability keeps it alive, not passion. The Beechcraft Bonanza carries a reputation for quality and strength, but that reputation brings expectations that reality does not always satisfy. Ownership demands discipline, attention, and consistent spending. Neglect is punished quickly, sometimes brutally. Even routine maintenance feels heavier than many first-time owners expect. The airplane feels capable, but also demanding and unforgiving. Insurance costs remind owners that reputation comes at a price. Systems complexity adds mental workload rather than comfort. Every decision feels expensive. While cruise performance is respectable, it rarely justifies the pressure of ownership. Owners feel responsible rather than relaxed. Pride often turns into stress over time. It may be reliable when treated perfectly, but perfection is exhausting. For many, reliability becomes conditional rather than comforting. The Cessna 182 Skylane offers more capability, but also more responsibility than most owners anticipate. It works hard and carries heavy loads, yet that usefulness brings constant compromise. Operating costs rise quietly year after year. Performance gains feel smaller than expected once fully loaded. The airplane often spends its life hauling rather than exploring. Owners appreciate its utility, but rarely describe it as fun. Noise levels fatigue pilots on longer legs. The flying experience feels more like work than leisure. It becomes an obligation rather than an escape. Maintenance stays predictable, but never cheap. The airplane delivers results, not joy. Over time, it feels like a dependable employee, not a partner. Reliability keeps it useful, but not lovable. The de Havilland Beaver is legendary for surviving environments that destroy other airplanes, but living with one tells a very different story. It is heavy, slow, and expensive to operate on a regular basis. Fuel consumption quickly overshadows its toughness. Parts availability becomes a constant concern. Maintenance requires commitment, not convenience. While it thrives in extreme conditions, most owners never operate there. In normal environments, its strengths feel wasted. Comfort is minimal and noise is constant. Long flights become endurance tests. Ownership only makes sense for very specific missions. Outside of those missions, practicality disappears. Reliability exists, but relevance fades quickly. The Cessna 206 Stationair is another airplane that works tirelessly while failing to excite. It was built for constant use and heavy schedules, and it shows in every aspect of its personality. Noise dominates the cabin. Performance feels average when loaded, not impressive. Comfort is rarely mentioned by owners. The airplane exists to serve a purpose, not to please. Dispatch reliability matters more than pilot enjoyment. It becomes a business tool rather than a flying experience. Owners respect it, but do not love it. The airplane feels replaceable. Many would trade it instantly for something more enjoyable if reliability were equal. It survives because it works, not because it inspires. The Piper Super Cub strips aviation down to simplicity, but simplicity often comes at the cost of comfort. It is slow, noisy, and physically demanding to fly regularly. Weather protection is minimal at best. Long trips are uncomfortable and impractical. The airplane exposes the pilot to every element. While it survives abuse, it asks a lot in return. Maintenance is simple but constant. Ownership feels primitive rather than charming over time. Flying becomes tiring rather than relaxing. For most owners, novelty fades quickly. Reliability keeps it alive in harsh environments, but comfort is sacrificed completely. What starts as freedom often turns into compromise. Finally, the Cessna 208 Caravan represents modern reliability taken to its extreme. It flies endlessly and rarely complains, but personal enjoyment was never part of its design. The airplane feels industrial, repetitive, and emotionally distant. Performance is intentionally conservative. Operating costs remain high and unavoidable. Flying it feels like managing a system rather than piloting an aircraft. Owners admire its consistency, but rarely feel connected to it. The airplane does not invite passion. It delivers results, not memories. Reliability supports operations, not dreams. It succeeds as a machine, not as an experience. If these airplanes taught us anything, it's that reliability alone doesn't guarantee desire. Some machines earn respect, but never affection. They keep flying year after year, even when owners slowly lose interest. In aviation, working perfectly doesn't always mean being loved. Tell us in the comments which airplane you think is reliable but painfully uninspiring. And if you enjoy honest aviation takes, like the video, subscribe, and fly with us again.